Knitting and crocheting are two very different things, right? TV and movies tend to mix them up constantly. Knitting is typically done with at least 2 needles, and you are creating many loops or stitches on the needles as you are working. In crochet, you work with 1 hook, not a needle, and you are working on 1 stitch or loop at a time as you're working across your piece. What if there's a fun little tool that advertises itself as being able to either knit or crochet using just 1 needle? Let me introduce to you the 1964 sensation as seen on TV ktel knitter. Knits and crochets with just 1 needle. As someone who loves testing quirky vintage knitting toys, I couldn't resist getting this one and seeing if we can figure out how to use it and if it does something like knitting, something like crocheting, or something completely different. The box has seen better days, but I'm surprised that it is even in such condition after how many years? Since 1964. So it looks like we have instructions, we have some yarn, that's helpful, as well as 2 of these ktel knitters. They are different sizes, so we've got a thicker one and a thinner one. I'm hoping that this instruction book can help us get a hang of it. We've got some lovely patterns in here, including some starter patterns. I think we'll want to make one of these. Here are the instructions, and as I'm just giving them a brief glance, I'm going to be honest, it looks quite similar to crochet. I'm going to go back to our starter pattern and see if we can't make this pot holder right here. Okay, so threading. We want to go through the yarn guide at the bottom here. Bottom. Hold needle at this point. Oh, I'm already holding it wrong. Hold it at that point, and then through the eye of the needle. Oh boy, this is not going to be easy. So our needle is threaded. Okay, now how do I hold this? I think like this. And I'm supposed to put a slip knot in to the end. Push it through, and I hold the loop that I just created. I pull it out, and I push it through again. Hold that loop. Okay, yeah, this is literally just like a crochet chain, but I have to use my finger to hold the loops. How many did I just do? I think 3. Oh, I'm just gonna start over so I don't lose count, and I'll bring you closer so you can kind of see what I'm doing. 7, 8, 9. Work 1 row simplicity stitch. I'm gonna be honest, this simplicity stitch to me seems very, very similar to just a simple crochet stitch, but with a crochet hook, I'm just using 1 hand versus with a simplicity stitch, I'm having to use both to hold up the form stitch so it doesn't unravel. If I were to let go of this and I kept pulling, this would come undone and the entire piece would come undone. So it's, right now, it feels very fiddly. Okay, I have gotten this far. It's still a bit wonky, but I'm really starting to feel like this is very, very similar to crochet. So let me grab that crochet hook that I just had and see if I can get a similar result. I just want to see how close this is to crochet. So now I've worked the same chain and the simple stitch, which is just a slip stitch. And here is already where we get one difference between the ktel knitter and crocheting. For crochet, I would now turn it around and start working into the stitches basically from the back of the work, kind of. But in the ktel knitter, you're actually always working from left to right, which is opposite for me and how I work because I'm a righty. So here's the comparison of the fabric. Now I have a lot more experience with the crochet, of course, than with the ktel knitter. So there is a lot of wonky tension on the ktel knitter, but it is unique because with the ktel knitter, I am always working from the left-hand side across to the right. The fabric looks pretty similar in my opinion if you ignore the differences in tension. So I don't know that you could ever call this a knitter, as we are not knitting fabric. This is, I think, basically an alternate way to crochet. Rather than having to catch the stitches with a hook, your yarn is through the eye of this needle, and so it'll never fall or slip off your hook. I want to be a little ambitious and I want to create a project with my ktel knitter. Have I only just started to learn how to use it? Yes, but sometimes you gotta go big or go home, and I'm just gonna shoot really high and I'm gonna choose one of these amazing patterns. I originally had my eye on this absolutely glorious pantsuit, but I think that might be shooting a bit high. So instead, I'm actually going to the beach soon, so I thought an open mesh mini skirt might be the perfect thing for me to create and then maybe even wear. Figuring out how to use this ktel knitter is, let's just say, not incredibly straightforward. I'm using an old bent manual with only static instructions and absolutely no interactive help. Luckily though, when it comes to STEM learning, we don't have to stick to these one-dimensional manuals, thanks to today's sponsor, Brilliant, an amazing online platform that makes learning feel fun, intuitive, and interactive. Brilliant helps you get smarter every day with thousands of interactive lessons in math, science, programming, data analysis, and AI. Instead of just reading page after page of text, you play with concepts, which has proven to be more effective than just watching lectures or reading plain instructions. One of the things I love most about Brilliant is how it builds your problem-solving skills. While you're learning a specific topic, you're also honing the ability to break down challenges, whether it's knitting with 60-year-old diagrams or tackling brand new topics like data analysis. There are interactive courses on analyzing real-world data, interpreting trends, and making better decisions. Perfect if, like me, you're curious about turning raw information into real insights. Honestly, if I had a Brilliant Style interactive course for this vintage knitting toy, I'd probably be making good progress on that fantastic pantsuit by now. Instead, I'm forging on with the cryptic manual. But for everything else, like brushing up on math, science, or diving into data, I rely on Brilliant's hand-on lessons that keep me motivated. If you'd like to give it a try, Brilliant is letting you explore all their courses for free for a full 30 days when you visit brilliant.org/engineeringknits, or you can click on the link in the description. Plus, you'll get 20% off of an annual premium subscription. Thank you again so much to Brilliant for making videos like this even possible. But I think now we have to get back to seeing if I can get that mini skirt made out of my ktel knitter, which I think is actually closer to a crocheter. I will say the model does give me a little bit of concern as to whether or not this is really the right choice, but we're going to see if I can make it. I'm also a little bit concerned about the waist sizes. I'm definitely going to have to make it in the largest size, and we'll see if it fits me. I'm going to choose some stretchy yarn, and hopefully that'll help. Let me go digging through my yarn stash and see if I can find some yarn that'll work for this. Alright, I am back from scrounging through my yarn stash to see what I could find that would work. And unfortunately, anything that's even close to being able to hit any of the gauge from what's in the book is all either wool or alpaca. And even though it looks like it's a very lacy mini skirt that I wanted to make, I don't think that going somewhere very warm with it is going to be very comfortable. So instead, I've decided that I'm going to make the really cute bag pattern because I can never have too many bags. And what I found were these red and blue ones. Oh, and I also decided I don't usually look up any of these antique or vintage tools before I try to use them because I'm trying to experience them in the same way that someone who would have bought this in the 70s, 60s, 1890s would have experienced it without any other input. But I just couldn't help myself, and I found this amazing ad for the ktel knitter from ktel itself.
Ktel Knitter, a new method designed to knit and crochet using one needle. Insert needle through knot, pull back, push through, pull back. So easy, anybody can now knit and crochet with ktel's one needle method. Cut between rows to any size. Every stitch is locked, won't run or ravel. A conversion chart is included. Convert any crochet pattern to ktel Knitter. Make these fashionable garments: hot pants, cocktail dresses, slack suits, peasant dresses.
Push through, pull back, push through, pull back. Great advice. Kind of figured it out too from the instructions, so I wasn't too far off, but it does help to see the motions a little bit and how they held it in their hand. I was kind of holding the open stitches against the table, but now I see the form that they're using, which is, I think, going to help me going forward. I think the ad is also for a slightly later version. I was able to find some of those online where they have a slightly more updated book, including how to translate crochet patterns to use the ktel knitter, which tells me my suspicions were correct. This is more of a crochet tool than a knitting tool. And does it get anyone else that people still mix up? Like, this is a company that specifically created a crafting tool, a fiber craft tool. They mixed up knitting and crochet. I don't know why it bothers me so much. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not that serious, right? Like, if someone is involved in fiber crafts, I'm so happy about it. But it just seems to be this trend of calling knitting crochet and crochet knitting. It's not that serious though, I don't think so. I think we're more than okay. I also found out that some people today call it loop crocheting. There are even communities for it, so if you still want to use these kinds of tools, then you should look up loop crocheting. Let me decide which color I want as my contrasting color and which colors I want for my main color for my bag, and we can get started with some loop crochet with my ktel knitter. I think I want main body blue contrast red. So we're going to start with the red. I made a bit of a gauge swatch, so we're getting closer, and I practiced some double simplicity stitch, which is basically double crochet. I'm going to show you because there are 2 loops that you have to hold open with your fingers at the same time, and that's not super easy for me, so I'll show you when I get there. But I'm going to start with the pattern, which says we're going to start with 35 chain. Okay, I have done a chain of 35, a turn chain, and 35 simple stitches. Now I have to do the double stitches, and this is difficult. So I'll show you once in this perspective, although I'm pretty sure you have a hard time seeing it when I do it like this. Let me first turn this properly. Hold on. I go under this stitch, and I pull out another active loop. Then I have to go through 2 active loops, and I keep on going through the wrong side. I find this very oh, I almost lost that one. Whoops. Okay. Oh wait, oops. All right, let me show you in a little bit better perspective what I'm talking about and what I'm struggling with a little bit right now. Trying to keep this active loop open, I need to go under the next stitch, create another active loop and hold on to it and not let it go, and then put this through both. I always pull out way too much yarn because that's what I do in regular knitting and crocheting. Then I go under the next stitch right there and create another active loop that I have to hold on to, and then I go through, is it this way? I don't know if it's this way or the other way. I feel like I'm going through the wrong way. But I'm slowly getting a better hang of it. Although I might have to look at the diagrams. I feel like I'm still going through the wrong way right now. I think I just finished that bottom contrast section. If I let it hang, you can definitely see the tension issues with it, but I'm hoping that maybe like if I steam it, it's an okay size. I feel like it's a good size if I have like a knitting or crocheting project I'm working on to hold on to that. I feel like all my bags are just full of crafting projects. Okay, but now I'm supposed to change color. Here we go. So now I'm going to switch to my blue. And now I do 2 rows of the main color. And then 2 rows of the contrast color, I think. And then I just keep going, I'm pretty sure. The blue is also a little easier on my eyes. I don't know if you can tell, but it's getting closer to the evening here. So even with my lights on in the room, it is a little darker. And so that dark maroon color just, everything blends in. And this blue is also dark, but I can see things which is better for my eyesight. Honestly, I should probably grab my glasses, but they're all the way over there, and I'm so comfy in my reading chair. Look at that contrast stripe. I think that looks pretty good. I'm enjoying that. Oh, Nutella, do you want to come here? Oh, there's a fly in here. She's afraid of flies. I might catch it and put it back outside so she's not so scared. Oh, here's the fly. You know, my grandma was a very talented lady in many ways, and one of the things that she could do is she could actually catch a fly with one hand. I always have to use the cup and paper trick. Let's release the fly. Oh, the scary fly is gone. Oh, oh. Some of you were asking in my last video where Nutella was, and I didn't get her in frame because, to be honest, my floor is a mess. But most of the time she was just at my feet. She's always around, but I'll make sure to include her more often in the future. What do you think? Do you want to be a part of it too? Hope. I have got quite a few of the contrast stripes done. Actually, I think I got all the contrast stripes done. Let me correct myself. Also, it is so dark. Oh, that's a little bit better. So I'm enjoying the way it looks so far. I'm having an issue that I tend to have a crochet sometimes. Look at my edges. I'm losing stitches. This happens to me all the time. Like I said, I have a hard time reading my work for crochet, especially at the edges. And this always happens to me, where either my work grows or it shrinks. So I don't think it's to do with this particular fiber craft. I struggle with that at crochet. It's a very common struggle for me, I'm going to be honest. You know what just popped in my mind is a terrible idea. I'm not going to do it. They showed in the ad that you can cut it without unraveling, which I'm still wondering how they did that, because this is basically just crochet and you can't cut crochet and not have it unravel. But I was like, what if I just cut this bit off and I keep it straight from here on out? But yeah, that's asking for trouble, I think. I'm just going to keep on working on this. I have 28 rows to do in total. I'm on the second of 28, so I guess I technically have 26 to go until I reach the top of this panel of the bag. And then let's chat for the matching panel, because I have some thoughts. So hopefully you can see a little bit better right now, because it's the next day, and so it's daylight out again. And I think I'm not jinxing it too bad by saying that I've got a little bit of improvement in my technique as we're going up. My edges are starting to get a little straighter and not shrink, which is nice. And I think it's interesting to learn, but I'm realizing right now that this is just another way of doing crochet, which I think you might have guessed, and I might be beating a dead horse at this point. But this is a neat tool, especially if maybe crochet with a hook isn't clicking for someone, or there might be some other reasons, mobility, dexterity, energy reasons, that this is a better tool for you than a hook. Or maybe if working on a piece from left to right works better for you personally rather than right to left, which I usually do in crochet. I find myself getting a little, like, I question what I'm doing, because I am faster with a crochet hook and it hurts less because I have that technique down already. I have the muscle memory for it, and I have it kind of, I wouldn't say perfected, but I can use a crochet hook with less stress to my body than I can right now with this loop crochet needle. For other techniques that can't be replicated in different ways, for example, tatting that I learned, I continued to practice it until I became proficient at the technique so that I could do it in a way that wouldn't stress my body. But I'm not yet at that point with this loop crochet needle. And since I've had issues with repetitive use injuries in the past, I decided to kind of make a call at this point, when I'm about halfway done with this panel, to switch over to using a crochet hook, because I can use it with a lot less strain on my hands, wrists, and shoulders. Also, the audio corrupted on the next few files, and no matter what I did, it wouldn't come back, so I am going to just talk over myself here. I hope that's not too discombobulating for anyone who's watching. If anyone wants to try to do a bad lip sync, please let me know to see if you can see what I'm saying, but I will try to fill in the blanks as best as I can. So I'm just showing you here the bits that I use with the loop crochet needle at the bottom, which is in focus now, versus what I did with my crochet hook. I still have some interesting flares at the side, and I'm working on the second piece just in crochet, and I decided to match the flares in the crochet piece. So this is the piece where the bottom half is loop crochet, the top half is crochet, and then that is the matching panel that I made in all crochet with that flare out at the bottom too. I also made the matching strap in the contrast color. I made it a bit longer than what the pattern called for, because I don't like when a bag always slips off my shoulder because the strap isn't long enough. And now what I have to do is sew up all around the sides and sew the straps onto the bag, and then the bag is done, which is really exciting. I like this combination of colors better than I thought I would. I used the two colors because that's what I had available in the right weights, and I like the length of the strap because I usually wear bags like this as a crossbody. It is a bit of a unique shape because of the issue with the stitch loss as I was using the loop crochet, but I do like it. I ended up liking it quite a bit, even with that color combination I wouldn't usually do, and I think that I'm going to use it for my knitting and crochet projects, like I said, because I always have more. There was also a suggestion to add tassels to the bottom, but I can do that at any point, and I don't think I'm going to add them right now. Instead, I am still very, very driven to make something completely with a ktel knitter from the start to finish, so I'm going to do one of the starting projects, which is the headband. It had been a while since I had done loop crochet. I mean, not that long, just a few hours, when I switched loop crochet back to crochet, and I don't know what happened. I managed to twist the work and I did something really funky in my headband here, but I decided to just roll with it and say, you know what, it's just a fun design feature for my headband, and when I wear it, I love the color. It's really nice because it's stretchy when it's made out of wool and a little bit sticky, so it doesn't feel like it's going to slide off the back of my head. And I think it's fun that when I'm using these vintage crochet tools and toys that I have made a headband each time. I feel like this has to be a bit of a tradition going forward to always make a headband with some of these toys. So that's really fun. I am so glad that I took the time to try out the ktel knitter, aka the loop crochet needle. And I now have another cute little project bag. I really enjoy it. And you know what I realized? This is one of my favorite vintage sweaters. It really feels like spring to me. And it reminds me of this color combination. I think it's definitely gonna get a lot more use than I was expecting. I also have the cute little headband, which I have been wearing a lot. So I would say overall, I got two wonderful new things. Even though I didn't use the loop crocheter for all of this project, I think that's okay. I've really enjoyed trying out different vintage knitting and crocheting tools and toys. If you have some other ones that you want me to try out, please let me know, because I find this really fun. If you like stuff like this, I will leave a link to the video here where I tried out that vintage 1970s knitting machine toy. Otherwise, I hope to see you again really, really soon. Thank you for joining. Bye.